Hi guys, welcome back to Crossfader. My name's DJ Holland and this is the brand new DJM-S11 by Pioneer DJ. This mixer, released alongside the SE edition, which is a special faceplate to pay homage to the DJM-909 from 2004, is the flagship battle mixer from Pioneer DJ, and it brings with it a whole host of new features and upgrades that you need to know about. Now, we're going to cover every single feature in detail in this video, so there are going to be timestamps in the comments below, but some of the most notable features include Scratch Bank, which is a brand new feature in Serato DJ Pro, gated hot cues, the effects customization, the touchscreen, decks 3 and 4, yes, this is a 4-channel mixer, and the all-new deck move and dual deck functionality. All that plus much more coming up. So we're going to let you know, is this mixer worth the £1,800 price tag? Well, let's find out by looking at the new layout first. The new DJM-S11 builds upon the tried and tested designs of older Pioneer DJ battle mixers, drawing heavily upon the DJM-S9's layout with the addition of a central screen. Just like the DJM-909 from 2004, the S11 feels clean and intuitive to use. The new 4.3-inch touchscreen sits at the top of the mixer inside a raised barrier, which helps avoid any accidental touches or knocks. The screen is bright, clear, and features a high resolution and frame rate, resulting in crisp waveforms that are easily the smoothest we've seen on a mixer. The addition of the screen has resulted in a taller mixer compared to its predecessor. Thankfully, this added real estate has allowed Pioneer DJ to place the trim, EQ, and filter controls for each channel in a single row. This was a real gripe of mine with the older S9's design. The added space has also allowed for a larger browse section with dedicated knobs either side of the mixer. Although still not illuminated, these larger controls are much appreciated and help navigate the library quicker. The lower half of the mixer is almost identical to the older S9's design, with just some key changes being made to the performance pads. Moving on to the performance pads of the DJM-S11. Now, these performance pads are slightly rectangular in shape. They're also larger than any performance pads that have come before on a battle mixer. Now, this rectangular shape is fantastic for finger drummers, as it allows two fingers to get easily side by side on each pad, which means obviously you'll have less accidental knocks. Also, addressing the biggest problem with the DJM-S9, Pioneer DJ thankfully have added independent pad modes to this mixer. Along the top, we have the pad selection modes. Now, these have been labeled for Serato DJ Pro rather than Rekordbox. So if you are a Rekordbox user, you may find this a little counterintuitive, as it doesn't always match up to what the software's pad modes are. However, we have full access to our hot cues, rolls, save loops, and samplers along the top. We can also double tap to access secondary pad layers. Alternatively, we can press shift and access the third pad layer. So this is the pitch play, slicer loop, save flip, and scratch bank, which is written on the mixer itself. So we can go ahead and press shift and access these features. Now, if you do want to access these features without having to press shift, say you're in a busy routine, you can go into the settings utility and change a setting in there, so you actually just triple tap the button instead of having to press shift. So that is a really clever thing that Pioneer DJ have enabled to allow DJs to get more creative with the pads without having to take their hand away from the deck. Another example of this forward thinking when it comes to the performance pads with Pioneer DJ on the S11 is a brand new feature called Combo Pad Mode. This allows the DJ to load up 2 pad modes on each side of the mixer. So for example, if I've got hot cues currently selected, I can hold hot cue down and press sampler, and now the bottom 4 pads will activate the sampler, and the top 4 pads are still in hotkey mode. Now, you can mix and match this across both sides of the mixer. So for example, I can have my sampler up top here and then get my rolls along the bottom. So you can mix and match this and like literally combine any amount of pads in any way you want, which is great. Means you don't have to go out and buy an SP1 or an XP2 add-on should you want access to numerous pads on the same deck at the same time. Now you may have noticed there was a couple of new features within the pads. We have gate cue, so you access this by pressing hot cue twice. This silences the playing deck, and then when you press the hot cue, it will temporarily unsilence that deck whilst your finger is on the pad. As soon as you remove that finger, it will silence the deck again. So this enables the DJ to create stabbing sounds of each hot cue, which is really, really interesting, something new with DVS. Another brand new feature exclusive to the DJM-S11 upon launch is the new Scratch Bank feature within Serato DJ Pro. To access Scratch Bank, press Shift and Sampler. This will load up Scratch Bank. Now you can access this within Serato DJ Pro up at the top. And Scratch Bank is a lot like the traditional Serato sampler. You've got 8 virtual decks in there, spread across 4 banks, and you can add songs into each virtual deck and then determine where that track is played from. So we can activate loops, or we can say that that track should play from hot cue 2 when I press a pad. However, unlike sampler, where that will play just within the sampler, when you press a pad in Scratch Bank, it will automatically load that track into either deck 2 or deck 1, depending on which side of the pads you're playing on. This means as soon as I press a pad, the track will load up from the point I've told it to, straight onto that deck, and I can go straight away, start scratching it, start manipulating it in any way I want. So that's Scratch Bank. As you can see, a really powerful tool, and put in the right hands, wow, the capabilities are endless. We really do hope that this feature is enabled in other pieces of DJ hardware, not just the S11, because it's that powerful and that creative. It really is one of our favorite features on this new mixer. Moving on to the effects section of the DJM-S11. Now, upon first glance, this looks very, very similar to the older DJM-S9's layout. It still retains the 2 paddles in the middle of the mixer. These are lightweight plastic, which is actually a good thing because you can activate them really quickly. You don't need much effort at all. You pull the paddles towards you to temporarily apply the effect, or you push the paddle away to lock it on, and that will keep the effect on. In the middle of these 2 paddles, we have the wet dry knob. This is how you change the parameter and the depth of your effect. Above that, we have the tap button to manually input our BPM should the auto detection get it wrong. To re-enable auto BPM detection, this is read directly from Serato DJ Pro or Rekordbox if you're using either software. You can just press the Shift and tap button. And then to the left-hand side of the paddles, we have 6 beat effect buttons. Now, these beat effects are built into the mixer. They're taken from Pioneer DJ's DJM lineup of mixers. These sound fantastic. Anyone that's played on a Pioneer mixer will know just how good the beat effects are. So we've got 6 different buttons here to change between the beat effects. These are built into the mixer, so you can use these with regular vinyl. On the right hand side, we have the software effects buttons. So we can activate 6 effects here. So we've got the effect bank 1 to 3 up top, and then the second bank along the bottom. So these activate the effects within Serato DJ Pro or Rekordbox. Now, many DJs who use the DJM-S9 will know that the beat effects buttons here could be changed out. So there was actually more effects within the mixer than just these 6. There were actually 15. And you would change these out by either pressing Shift and the browse knob, or you would go to the DJM utility, an application on your computer. However, now we've got this nice big central display on the DJM-S11 itself, we can use that to change the parameters of the effects. At the bottom of the display, you can see that we have got the information of our selected effect. So it says echo, and then we can change the beat divisions by using these arrows here. So we can go all the way up to 16. You can see it says auto here as well. That means we're on the automatic BPM detection. And this also displays your software effects. So if I go to the Serato effects, so I've got delay there, low pass filter and reverb. But we can get more in depth and change what these buttons do and how they perform. So if I access the main menu by pressing at the bottom of the screen and then go to FX settings, here we can go in depth into the mixer and change a lot of the parameters. So now we're in the effects settings page and we can change all the parameters of the effects on the mixer. So up top we have this filter. This is the color effects knob at the bottom of each EQ, and we can change the behavior of this control. So we can change this to noise if we should wish. We can change it to pitch, so it re-pitches the track that's playing. A dub echo or a wide filter, which has a total kill at the top, whereas a regular filter will bleed through. We can also change the resonance and the parameters of these color effects. So if we want a less harsh sounding filter, we can just change that in there. Below the filter control, we have this section here, which represents the beat effects and the software effects buttons. If we tap on here, you can see whichever button we have pressed. So if I press echo, the echo is now showing on the screen. If I tap that button on the screen, I can go in and I can change the beat effects button. So this is just like the S9 application on the computer and how you would do that, but we can do it all on the screen. So I can change echo, and I've got 22 beat effects built in to change between. So if I want to change that to say the fader pitch or a fader sine wave, for example, we can go and change that effect. We can also change the parameters of that effect again. So I'll just change the scale to major. And then when I activate the effect, we can use that effect there. So I want that instead of echo, for example. Alternatively, you can change the effects of the buttons on the software as well. So in here, if I press FX1, for example, and then tap on it, I cannot go through and change which setting is applied to that bank. So in Serato DJ Pro, if I have a low pass filter on FX1, that will stay being on that effect. I can't change that from in here. But what I can do is I can change what this button activates within Serato DJ Pro or Rekordbox. So for example, I can change it to activate the second bank or the third, or alternatively, I can add a combination. So down here, I've got FX11 and 12. So when I press this, in Serato DJ Pro, if I just open up the effects section, when I apply this effect, you can see it's actually turned on 2 effects at the same time. So I can change the effects within Serato or Rekordbox and create really interesting sounds that combine together to create a mad effect, and we can just apply that simply by pressing on the paddle here. So you can really customize the effects within the software of the mixer, and then you can save these. So if I go all the way back, so if I've changed all the effects I want to, on top of that, I have got a mic echo division. The microphone echo is accessed on the front panel. I've changed that to say be half a beat. Once I've mapped all these buttons to do exactly what I want, I can then save that into a bank. So if I say save bank and I select bank B, now all my custom effect settings are saved into bank B. So if I go back to the main waveform display, you'll see at the bottom here, I can still see my settings. So I've got this B shown here because I am in bank B. I've got fader sine, even though it says echo over here on the mixer, I've actually got a fader sine wave applied. And it says noise in the bottom right hand corner because I've applied a noise to this filter control. So if I want to default to the default mapping, because I didn't change bank A, just press shift, hit this left arrow, and I've gone to bank A, and that is now the standard settings. So you can create custom mappings of your effects and then create 4 different versions of that and quickly swap between them to suit your preference. It's really easy and really clean to do. Now, sticking with effects, we also have a brand new effects mode called Touch Effects. So going back into the main menu, you can see that we've got this Touch Effects section here. Now, this displays an XY pad. This is much like a Chord Chaos pad if you've ever used one of those before. And you can see up at the top, we can have it activate channel 1 or channel 2. I'll leave it on both for the time being. And you can change what parameters are controlled on the XY pad. So at the moment, the XY pad, the X-axis is the echo and the Y-axis is the filter. If I go into the settings, I can change this between two presets, so roll and pitch, so that'll be rolling on the X-axis and changing the pitch on the Y. Or alternatively, I can go to selected effects. Now this will always keep the Y-axis as a filter, but I can change between any of the inbuilt beat effects here for the X-axis, or I can even add the Serato DJ Pro effects or record box effects. So I can select my effects over here. So this is a really cool way of applying a bit of texture and a different sound to your mix. You can also activate hold mode. All hold mode does is it allows you to just tap on it once and it will keep that effect on. Then you tap again and remove it. So you can move this around, but that's what hold mode does. But let's just have a sound of what echo and filter does. Moving on to Smooth Echo. Smooth Echo is a brand new feature and it has a dedicated button on the mixer in the bottom left hand corner here, just underneath your sampler volume. Now when you press this on, nothing really changes on the mixer. There's no indication, not even on the effects display here, that anything has changed. Just this blue light here. If we press and hold Smooth Echo, you can see we get into this settings panel. Now this settings panel is available if you go straight into the menu, back to FX Select, and in the bottom left hand corner, Smooth Echo. And what Smooth Echo does is it applies an echo automatically for you depending on what your action on the mixer is. So up top we can select what triggers Smooth Echo to turn on. So we can have hot cues, silent cues, track load, the gate cue function, the crossfader, or the channel fader itself. Below that, we can change the division of the echo. So it's currently set to quarter beat, but we can go and change that all the way up to 8 beats or down to an eighth. I'm going to leave it on half, and then we can change the level or the depth of that echo. So I'm going to leave it on the half at the moment. So just to show you what this sounds like, at the moment, you can see we've got the channel fader selected as one of the triggers. So if I get a track playing, as soon as I pull the fader down, do you hear that echo? I haven't touched the echo up here. Even if echo is selected here, I can get rid of that. Let's put phaser on, for example. If I put that fader back up, as soon as I remove it, it echoes again. So at the bottom, you'll notice there's a number of beats to be triggered by crossfader. This is a setting really for beat jugglers. So if you want this Smooth Echo to be on your crossfader, you don't want it when you're beat juggling to happen every time you move the crossfader. That would be very annoying and would get very messy. So I can trigger this and put it up to 4 beats. Now, the Smooth Echo will only be activated if this crossfader isn't moved for 4 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. It echoes out. But if I move it within 1 beat, it doesn't. So that's Smooth Echo. It's a really simple tool, but when used correctly, it just frees up your hands so you can carry on with your routine. We really like this feature. Unfortunately, it is hardware based, so it's only in the S11. We're not going to get this implemented on any other DJ hardware at the moment, but yeah, what a tool. So something that's not apparent when you first look at the DJM-S11 is the fact that it's actually a 4-channel mixer. So this mixer has the capability of playing, manipulating, and mixing 4 decks, all from the touchscreen itself. So I'm going to show you how you do it. You need to go into the main menu and you see there's deck 3 and deck 4. Now it doesn't matter which one you press, you'll end up in the same area. So I'll just go deck 3. Along the top you can see we've got deck 3, screen select, deck 4. So these tabs allow you to quickly change between deck 3 and 4, and then we have the screen select button in the middle. So if I go to deck 3, and then I have the 4 screen selects, so I'm going to go to simple to begin with. So here I can browse for a track, sync it, loop it, use a hot cue, and also I've got a play and mute button which stay the same and in the same position on every mode should you want to quickly kill that track off. So if I click on browse, I can browse through my library, but I'm going to load that into deck 3. So now I've got that track loaded, I can sync it, I can use a 1-bar auto loop, I can use a hot cue, and I can also play the track and mute it should I need to. So if I go back to screen select, I can head down to the hot cue section just below. Now this is all the hot cues from that track. So I've got 8 hot cues. So that's how you access your hot cues of that track. Go back, go to mixer. This is just like, you know, your normal mix control. So what we can do here is we can add more trim, so more gain. We can control the gain on that track should we need to increase the volume of the playing track. We've also got the channel fader down here. So this is your channel 1, channel 2, but this is deck 3's channel fader here. So if I get that playing,
I used to wear Gucci because that's not me.
I can also assign channel 3 to the crossfader. So if I get that playing,
I used to wear Gucci, put it all in the bin because that's me.
We can also send it to the cue channel on our headphones. So finally, we have the mashup mode. Now, mashup mode is a great system. This is where the majority of creative DJs are going to spend their time. So in here, we have access to the waveform here on the side. We can also pitch bend the track by touching the waveform or using the bend buttons down here. So we can use this to manually beat match the track in. We can use the sync button to sync it to our playing deck. And we can also use the key lock button as well. So if I open up the 4-channel mode on my laptop, you can see exactly what's going on. I can now get a track playing on deck 1. And by pressing dual deck, I can control both deck 1 and deck 2 at the exact same time. So if I just skip this back to the beginning. So now my control vinyl, my hot cues, and also my channel fader are controlling both deck 1 and deck 3 at the same time. So even though this is an acapella and a beat, I'm controlling them as if they're one track. This is the first time this has ever been done in DVS, and it's all made possible thanks to the hard work at Serato and this DVS mixer. It's crazy. Another amazing feature of the mashup mode is the deck move. So if you're getting creative in the routine and you need to free up a deck so you can get more creative, maybe you've got an instrumental that you've just scratched in and you want to then put an acapella on another track and get creative scratching that, you can move your tracks from decks to the underneath virtual decks. So here in deck 3, we have the ability to move whatever's playing on deck 2 to deck 3. And on deck 4, if I head into the same screen mode, I can move deck 1 to deck 4. So if I get deck 1 playing, and then press deck move, I can then now remove that, stop that deck 1. This is playing on deck 4 now underneath. I can then load up a acapella if I want. So you can really get creative within this mashup mode. You can move tracks from decks to other virtual decks to free up your turntables. You can also activate dual deck mode, so you can take full control of that virtual deck using your DVS as well. Extremely powerful stuff. Unfortunately, the deck move feature isn't available in Rekordbox DJ. That is only in Serato DJ. But if you are using this for Serato DJ Pro, wow, what an amazing creative tool. Finally, the DJM-S11 allows us to access features within Serato DJ Pro or Rekordbox directly from the screen itself using a feature called Touch MIDI. Now, Touch MIDI allows us to take control of various settings within Serato DJ Pro or Rekordbox. So for example, on the first page, we can change both deck 1 and 2 to internal mode. We can key shift them. The second page, we've got our sync options. The third page, we've got our play, pause, sync, tempo reset, and also our recording status. And finally, on the fourth page, we've got our effects controls as well. Now in Serato DJ Pro and Rekordbox, we can use MIDI remapping to change what these buttons do. However, we're not able to change the display of the button on the screen at the moment. So if I remapped internal mode to activate something else, unfortunately I won't be able to change that from saying internal on the screen at the moment. I do hope Pioneer DJ gives us the ability to do that in the future, because I can only imagine what people could map onto this display if that was given the option. Finally, from this touchscreen, we can access the utilities up at the top of the mixer. Now, most of these are just generic audio settings, you know, what gain you want, if you want to change your EQ to an isolator, things like that. We're not too bothered about that. But what I want to show you is just some quick and easy utilities that change the mixer's appearance and the way it reacts. So if I go to performance mode, on the crossfader here, I can change the lag of the crossfader, so how far the cutting distance is. That can be changed on the screen itself. You can either drag it around or you can set it to a specific value. We also have crossfader smoothing, which helps avoid, even if you've got it on the sharpest cut, the volume being punched in far too loud. So you can customize and tweak your crossfader to the setting you really want it to, and also you can turn the crossfader completely off by using the through button. Loop options are amazing. So Serato DJ Pro users will know that if I roll a track at say quarter beat, the next time I hit auto loop, that will be defaulted to quarter beat because that was the last loop value I used on my roll. If I turn the loop option on, I can default this button to automatically jump back to 8 beats or 16 or 4, 2 or 1. Whatever I want, I can have that button default like that straight away. So if I do a roll, that quarter beat, next time I hit auto loop, I don't have to worry about where the parameter is in Serato DJ Pro. I can have that set to 4, and as soon as I press that, it's a 4-beat loop regardless of where it was before. Really, really good feature that, and one that every DJ should be taking advantage of. Underneath we have the pad modes option. I spoke about this earlier. If you have it in multi, you can access your modes by triple tapping. So first one is for hot cue, double tap for gate cue, and triple tap for your pitch play. So you avoid having to press shift to get to that third layer. Shift mode obviously leaves it as default, so you will need to press shift to access pitch play. The fader start option allows the track to start from either its first cue point or the first hot cue when you press shift and raise the fader. You can also have sync automatically be enabled when you use this function as well. Just a nice quick time-saving hack for those that are getting creative using the faders. In the display settings, we can choose what is displayed and what information is available to the DJ on the waveform. So the waveform view is the main view that most DJs will use. You can get rid of the key lock button and the sync button if you don't want it. You can also get rid of the effects display, so where it says echo and your beat divisions, you can also get rid of that for a really clean look. Moving on to waveform display overlay. This is where we can change what's displayed to the user in the little black boxes. So we can have what pad mode we're in. If we have it set to change, it will just temporarily show when I change pad mode, and then it will disappear away again. We can change this to permanently be shown by clicking always. We can also show our countdown on the top of the waveform, so we can have this in bars, beats, or completely off. And also we can turn off the status display for channels 3 and channels 4. So if you have channel 3 and channel 4 playing, a little icon at the top of the screen will show. We can turn that off if we want to. Next up is a waveform touch function. Now this button allows us to change what happens when we touch on the waveform itself. We can either pitch bend the track, so we can touch the top half of the waveform to pitch bend it forward, or we slow it down by pressing the lower half. Alternatively, we can have deck move on. So rather than jumping into deck free mode, then clicking on screen select, go into the mashup mode to access that functionality, we can just have it so when we touch the waveform, it will send deck 2 to deck 3 and it will send deck 1 to deck 4 just by touching the waveform itself. We can also turn off the ability to needle search down the side of the waveform by pressing the shift button. In the browse display, we can change our library view when we're on the library mode on the screen. We can have one line of information or two. We can also have the auto transition effect turned on and off. What this does is if you're in a different mode and you twist the browse knob, the library will display automatically. If you don't want this to happen and you want the waveforms or your mashup mode to stay on the screen whilst you're browsing, you can turn this off. We can also change the font size of the library text here as well. Finally, in the screen settings, we have the ability to enable day mode. So if you're a DJ who does a lot of outdoor gigs, maybe you're playing in the sunshine, we can turn day mode on, which will invert the colors on the display. Perfect for those DJs playing day parties. Finally, let's speak about connectivity with the DJM-S11. Now, this mixer is largely unchanged from the DJM-S9 that came before it, showing pretty much the exact same connections as before. Now, these are brilliant. Don't get me wrong, you have the ability to have two DJs playing back-to-back sets. I would have liked the USB ports on the back of the mixer to be raised up. I don't understand why a cable that is going to be plugged in and out all night is on the bottom row next to power cables and audio cables, which are important. I would have preferred to see that raised up, but apart from that, it's business as usual. We do have the addition of two USB-A ports with the S11. That's perfect for users of controllers such as the Rain 12s, or if you're using a set of CDJs in HID mode. Just frees up a spare port on your laptop or two. Aside from that, we have our usual microphone connection, all the parameters of the microphone and also the crossfader and upfader curves can be changed around on the front. The crossfader has been upgraded, so it is stronger, it feels buttery smooth, and the paint, thank God, on this S11 is reinforced so we won't have the paint chipping off problem that plagued the early DJM S9 units. And there we have it, our review of the DJM S11 mixer by Pioneer DJ. This mixer is amazing. There's so many new features in there, so many technological jumps, both on the software side and the hardware side. There's features such as scratch bank, gated hot cues, smooth echoes, deck move, dual deck with DVS, the ability to control 4 decks with this panel here. There's so much to get your head around. But what Pioneer DJ have absolutely nailed is making all of that so easy, so intuitive, and so accessible. You don't have to be sat in the user manual learning how each feature works. It's just intuitive. It's just how you expect it to be. And that's what makes this mixer so good. Add to that the amount of customization you can make to the screen and to the settings and to the effects, and you have a mixer you can truly make your own. I cannot wait to see how creative battle mixers are going to be from now on. The routines that DJs are going to come out with on this mixer is going to blow our minds. I can promise you of that. There's so much more and so much more capability in Serato just by plugging in this mixer alone. Now, it's not perfect. I would have liked the back where the USB ports are to have been moved up. I also don't understand why there isn't an IEC locking power cable in there, especially when you've got DJs reaching down to the bottom level where the power cable is to unplug their USB ports. But that said, Pioneer have nailed it. It really feels like they've sat back, looked at their competitors' products and taken every issue that DJs had with their competitors' products and ticked it off and just fixed the issue. This is a very, very near perfect mixer, and I don't say that very often. I really do like this. What is your favourite new feature within this mixer? Let us know in the comments below. If you've got any questions you want answering about this mixer, I'll be down there as well answering some of those questions. This is an incredible mixer. Let us know your thoughts. Thanks for sticking around and watching this video. I know it's been a bit of a long one, but we've had so much to get through. Give this video a thumbs up if you have enjoyed it. It really does help us out. Subscribe to this channel if you've not done so already for more content around DJing, tips, tricks, and reviews, of course. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in another video sometime soon. Take care.